Dr. Constantin, S. Szegho. The Morning After. Volume 7, Number 1. Winter 1996. By Sandee Remis, and other source contributions. Television pioneer and retired Vice President of Research of the Roland Tube Division of the Zenith Radio Corporation, Constantin, S. Szegho, died peacefully at his Edgewater home on Friday, October 27, 1995, at the age of 90. He had been a sustaining member of Edgewater Historical Society since its inception in 1988. Born on March 15, 1905, in Nagyboxko, Hungary, now in Romania. Constantin attended the Cistercian monks' school in Pécs. He was graduated in 1923 and entered the Institute of Technology in Munich, the same year, to study electrical engineering. After getting his degree in 1927, he went to the Aachen Institute of Technology in Aix-la-Chapelle, Germany, where he received his PhD in 1932. There, he embarked on a lifelong involvement with cathode ray tubes under the tutelage of Professor Rogowski, one of the foremost electrophysicists in Germany. After receiving his doctorate of science, he became an instructor at the institute. Dr. Szegho stands in one of his testing laboratories. His outstanding accomplishments in cathode ray tube research impacted modern-day television, movie theater projection, radar, X-rays, air traffic control, military night vision, and pioneering work in fiber optics. In 1934, he went to Glasgow, with his first wife Anna, a prominent sculptor, and worked for a year at the Royal Technical College. He met John Logie Baird, the father of television, who offered him a job in the vacuum tube laboratory of Baird in the famous Crystal Palace in London. World War II interrupted his work on theatre-size projection television, and Dr. Szegho, who is a Hungarian national, could not be drafted, was sent to New York in 1940 to continue his work there, where TV was still just a laboratory item. Norm Roland, of the Roland Corporation, hired him in 1942 and brought him to Chicago, where he was soon engaged in war work, notably the development of radar. This was a closely guarded secret in the US, and Dr. Szegho astounded the military by independently designing and producing the tube necessary for it. Roland was acquired by Zenith in 1948. In 1953, Dr. Szegho was named Vice President of Research, a post which he held until his retirement in 1968, when Roland became a division of Zenith, producing millions of picture tubes used worldwide. After his retirement, he worked as a consultant and was called on several occasions as an expert witness in important patent litigation. Dr. Szegho and his colleagues were instrumental in making TV the large, rectangular, bright, colorful, and well-defined image it is today. Besides TV, tube research resulted in lower dosage X-rays, safer skies due to enhanced air traffic control capabilities, important military developments such as night vision, and pioneering work in fiber optics. A longtime member of the American Physical Society and the American Optical Society, Dr. Szegho was made a fellow and life member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers in 1951, and, in 1958, a fellow of the Television Society. He is listed in Who's Who, in Engineering and Hungarians in America. He received over 60 patents in the US and Great Britain, and his many publications are cited in technical histories and textbooks. Despite his many accomplishments, Dr. Szegho remained a modest man. He was revered by his colleagues and helped many of his young lab assistants on their way to prominent careers of their own. He was admired for his encyclopedic range of interests, philosophy and literature, both of which he read in several languages, art, music, and politics. He was also dedicated to preserving a record of the inspired work of many over the span of the 20th century that brought us so many technological marvels. He is survived by his present wife, Elizabeth, an active EHS member, and two sons from a previous marriage, Raymond Szegho of Toronto, Canada, and Steve Szegho of Chicago, and a granddaughter, Taylor, of Toronto. According to Dr. Szegho's wishes, no services were held, but a memorial was planned for the fall of 1997. Memorial donations to either the Chicago Ensemble are still welcome and help fund an annual classical chamber music concert dedicated to Dr. Szegho, or donations to the IEEE History Center would be welcomed.
This article is the 1996 work-in-progress version. The final version was published in the Edgewater Scrapbook, Volume 8, Number 1, 1997, under the title, The Morning After.
Thank you. I'm Tom Dwyer, and this has been a Red Raven Productions.
Ghosts. Volume 7 Number 1. Spring 1996. By Sandra Remis. There we were, late on the night of September 16th, huddled together in the May Chapel of Rose Hill Cemetery. It was dark outside, very dark. And it was chilly inside, very chilly, as the cemetery's archivist, David Wendell, mesmerized us with his tales from the Rose Hill crypt. Like the one about Margaret, who died a pauper in the 1930s and was encased in one of the lead iceboxes in the chapel's temporary holding area, awaiting burial. No one ever came forward to sign for her interment. So there she still lies, waiting. Then there was the story of the ghost who still stalks the halls of the community chapel mausoleum. Richard Warren Sears, as in Sears Roebuck, was one of the first rich and famous customers of the mausoleum. He was soon joined by his chief business competitor, A. Montgomery Ward, who took up residence a mere 40 feet away. This did not please Mr. Sears one bit. Since that time, he has been seen, in top hat and tails, roaming the corridors every now and then. He evidently wants to ensure that everyone knows who was interred there first. The National Enquirer did a piece on old Mr. Hopkinson, whose building of a miniature, 2-story, Gothic cathedral to hold his remains, met with resistance from people who considered it an eyesore that destroyed the view. He built it anyway. Now that he's dead, sounds of rattling chains and moaning can occasionally be heard at the tomb, apparently his way of taking revenge against those who tried to thwart him. Carrie Calbus was another unhappy camper. Carrie had died in the 1930s, but no headstone was ever placed at her grave. One night, many years later, someone at the cemetery reported seeing the pale, shadowy figure of a woman rambling around at the site. The very next day, Carrie's niece shows up at Rose Hill to order a headstone, saying that her aunt had appeared to her in a dream the night before, distraught over not having a grave marker. Eerie. Mr. Wendell also divulged other interesting, non-paranormal, facts about Rose Hill that night in his talk to the volunteers who would be working in various capacities the following day on EHS's 7th annual home tour. Since workers cannot leave their posts the day of the tour, they get together the night before for a potluck dinner, instructions, and a preview tour of all the homes, and cemetery in this case, to be shown. One hears up close and personal stories on the preview tour that simply can't be repeated on the public tour because of time constraints and crowd logistics. As you can see, volunteering to help with EHS activities has some insider benefits. If you'd like to help with our 1996 home tour on September 15th, please call Kathy Gamperly or EHS voicemail.
Thank you. I'm Tom Dwyer, and this has been a Red Raven Productions.